A video for you guys. I know week 0 happened last Saturday, and this week upcoming is the start of week 1 officially today, Thursday. I'm extremely excited for you guys and for myself as well to see some amazing games here coming up. It's going to be an absolute amazing experience. I think this is going to be the place to be and really some great premier matchups, and I'm just extremely excited to see it. So let's go ahead and get into some week 0. USC San Jose State played. USC had an absolute tremendous game. They absolutely dominated San Jose State. I know a lot of people at halftime were concerned that USC was only up by, I believe, a touchdown at that point. I was not one of those. I knew that second half was going to be their game, and it ended up being so. Caleb Williams was absolutely phenomenal. That game, you really couldn't tell how good USC's defense really was. Yes, they allowed 28 points. The last one was the very end of the game. They really only allowed 21 points to a really good quarterback from San Jose State. So I'm not putting too much stock in that. I need to see them in week 1 upcoming. I believe they're versus Nevada. And just seeing them more a couple games just to get to know a good feel of where they're at and where they are going to be at. So for me, that's where I'm at on USC. But I did love to see Caleb Williams and Zachariah Branch having a great breakout season. Next up, we have Notre Dame, Navy. Don't think there's much to start here. Sam Hartman looked like he started for Notre Dame his entire life. So really great to see that. But to be honest with you, I didn't get anything out of that game because it was against Navy, who is quite possibly going to have one of the worst offenses in the entire FBS. So I don't know what to really make of it. And obviously the Notre Dame offensive line was great. They were last season, so I expected the same thing this year. The next game that was worth anything, Vanderbilt, Hawaii. What a scary game that was for Vanderbilt. They were up at halftime big time, and then Hawaii came storming back, and it looked extremely scary for Vanderbilt. They squeaked that one by, and had Vanderbilt lost, you would be having another discussion about how bad Vanderbilt's going to be, especially when the Rainbow Warriors are not going to be that very good this season at all. So going to be very interesting for Vanderbilt and moving forward in the SEC, and hopefully they get it together on defense because that was one of the worst I had ever seen. Thursday, so that's today, obviously, August 31st. Some big-time games. NC State, UConn. What do I expect? NC State to blow out UConn. I'm just going to be honest there. I love UConn. I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, East Hartford. So this is like big to my heart, big in my community and things like that. But let's just be, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to anybody. I'm gonna be a realistic person here. NC State should blow out UConn here, and if they don't, great for UConn first off, but also that shows NC State is gonna have a rough season with Brendan Armstrong as their quarterback. UCF, Kent State. If UCF doesn't blow them out by at least 21, I think after all Kent State lost, I think UCF not blowing it by 21 is going to be very concerning because they're in the Big 12 and they may not win more than 5 games, if they don't blow out Kent State. Wake Forest is in action against Elon. I don't expect that to be a game. Let's go to Florida, Utah. Obviously, the big showcase here at 8 p.m. today. I have Florida winning the game because Cam Rising is out. I think Utah's going to struggle throwing the football. And I think it is going to be a lot of trouble for Utah, and Florida does take down Utah. I don't have hopes for Florida, though. So if you're wondering if I think that means I think they're going to be a top 3 in the East, I do not have them finish second to last in the East. So that tells you that they really need that Utah win. Nebraska, Minnesota, a great game. I think that's actually the second most competitive game out there along with Florida and Utah. I think Matt Rule's first game, I think he is going to unfortunately lose to Minnesota. I do have Minnesota winning this game. I think PJ Fleck is just a coach that's been on a mission in Minnesota, and he's gotten the Gophers to do really well here as of late, and I think they are in a transitional phase at quarterback. Obviously, losing Tanner Morgan, and then the new kid coming in as the starter. I think he's going to be something to watch for because I think he's a better thrower of the football, and obviously they lost Mal Ibrahim, so they're going to have to rely more on the pass. But I think Nebraska's newness and their inability to have a great defense at all is going to be the reason why Minnesota is going to win this game. But I do expect it to be within 10 points. Missouri, South Dakota, I don't think there's much to talk about. Missouri is certainly going to win that game, even with Cook at quarterback. Arizona State, Southern Utah, I don't think that should even be a game. I think Arizona State should win that big time. Friday's slate is going to be a little bit more interesting as we do see Central Michigan, Michigan State. A nice Michigan rivalry. I think Michigan State takes it. They should take it pretty handily. Mel Tucker's on the hot seat if he does not start off the season 1-0. He's already feeling some heat turned up on him, so he needs to produce this season and have this team not only bowling, but 7-8 wins is going to be expected for Michigan State this season. I don't think they reach the 8. I think they go 7-5. And Mel Tucker's hot seat is going to get turned up a little more. Utah and Miami, Ohio, I don't think that's much of a game. Miami should absolutely blow the doors off them. Louisville, Georgia Tech. It's going to be interesting because it's in Atlanta. New head coach for Georgia Tech, new scheme, new everything for Georgia Tech. I think it's going to take them a couple of years to build anything. So I see Louisville winning by almost 3 touchdowns, probably 17 to 20 points. Kansas should be blowing out Missouri State. Stanford, Hawaii is going to be very interesting because it is in Hawaii. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how Stanford looks with their new head coach Troy Taylor versus the Rainbow Warriors, who put up a hell of a game against Vanderbilt in the second half. So let's see if Hawaii can keep that momentum up and upset Stanford and get themselves on the winning path. Saturday, awesome slate here. Michigan's going to trounce East Carolina. Tennessee is going to trounce Virginia. The game that I will be watching at 12 is going to be TCU, Colorado. It's going to be at TCU. Sonny Dykes, without all that returning production, is going to be interesting to see. I do think they're not going to be ranked at the end of the season. I think they go 7-5 to 8-4 for TCU. I think it's just too much loss for a school doesn't spend and have the NIL big enough to compete every year to just reload. So I think Colorado is going to make it interesting, and I think Colorado could pull off the upset. I really do believe in Colorado with primetime Deion Sanders and Shedeur. I don't know how good they're on the offensive line, defensive line. In the first 5 minutes, I'm pretty much going to know everything about Colorado because you just have to watch the trenches. If TCU pushes them around, Colorado's going to lose big time. If Colorado's able to hold their own, it could be close and TCU could win. It could be close and Colorado could win. I could see the upset here, but for this sake, I am going to choose TCU winning the game, but barely. I think within 7. Oklahoma, Arkansas State, not a game. Iowa, Utah State, even without Cade McNamara in that game, Iowa should absolutely win that game, no problem. Kentucky, Ball State, not really a game. Let's go to another one. Purdue, Fresno State could be interesting here, depending on how Fresno State looks without Jake Haener. And Purdue with a new head coach. I don't know how this is going to look. To me, I think Purdue could maybe squeak it out, or it could go the other way. I mean, we're just going to have to check on that game throughout the quarters there. SMU, Louisiana Tech. Considering the last time we saw Louisiana Tech play in week 0, how they looked, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how they go against SMU. I have SMU winning the game, but barely, pretty much at that point. Let's see here. Ole Miss and Mercer should be an easy win for Ole Miss. Oregon should beat Portland State by at least 30. Ohio State should blow out Indiana by at least 35. Even with Kevin McCord, I don't see Indiana being any good under Tom Allen, and Tom Allen will probably be fired within the first 4 weeks. Washington, Boise State could be ended up being an interesting game depending on how good Boise State is this year versus Washington. I think Washington should win by at least 2.5 touchdowns, but we shall see on that one. Texas and Rice, not a close game. I don't care that JT Daniels is playing for Rice. Texas is going to blow them out. Notre Dame, Tennessee State, that's a blowout. Wisconsin, Buffalo, blowout. Auburn, Mass, blowout. Maryland, Townsend, blowout. Let's get a more interesting battle here. Georgia, UT Martin should be a blowout. Nevada and USC. I don't really expect USC. I expect USC to win by at least the same margin that they beat San Jose State. So 56-28 or 56-21. It really shouldn't be that hard for USC of a game. Texas A&M, New Mexico should be an easy win. Kansas State, Southeast Missouri State, easy. Houston and UTSA is going to be very interesting. I know Zach Franklin transferred to Ole Miss, but UTSA is going to be interesting because the Roadrunners could upset Houston in that game, and I could see that very well going on in Houston Stadium. So watch out for that. It could get very interesting there. Bethune going to lose to Memphis. Alabama's going to destroy Middle Tennessee. Penn State, West Virginia, the backyard brawl. Penn State all the way. I don't think Neil Brown's even going to put up a game against Penn State. North Carolina, South Carolina. This is the only game I see where the upset is could be more than likely to happen with South Carolina pulling it off against North Carolina. I know some people that are saying that South Carolina's going to pull it off. I do not think so. I think it is North Carolina that is going to beat South Carolina by 10 to 14 points. But I think it's going to be closer than what you guys would indicate from that score. And I think Spencer Rattler is going to be good, but his turnover problems are just going to rear its ugly head and unfortunately give North Carolina the win, even though I don't think North Carolina's defense is going to hold a water. But they may end up turning Spencer Rattler over and ended up giving them an extra touchdown to go up by 14 and win the game late. But I think it is going to be close to the end there. UCLA, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is going to be replacing their coach, but they still have Grayson McCall. So I could still see them giving UCLA fits early. Ethan Gabbert has got the start for UCLA with Dante Moore being the backup there. I don't know how long it's going to be for Ethan Gabbert being the starter before you see Dante Moore on the field. So we'll see what goes further on from that. But we do have Northwestern Rutgers, probably one of the worst Power 5 matchups we have ever seen. That game is going to be very low scoring. I have Northwestern winning that game by a touchdown. Oregon State, San Jose State. It was interesting to see how San Jose State played last week with their quarterback. I think they could give Oregon State some trouble, and DJU could be in trouble early, but I do have Oregon State pulling away late and winning the game at around 35 to 24. So an 11-point spread there. LSU, Florida State, it's obviously the biggest game on ABC, the game that everybody is going to be talking about. The entire game that everybody's looking forward to. And I do believe LSU squeaks by Florida State and gives Florida State their first loss of the season. I do think it is revenge for LSU time, and I do think that they are going to get the W. I think Jane Daniels will be more calm, under center, be understanding better, and I think he's able to drive home the game for LSU. Clemson, Duke, while I do have Clemson winning the game, it's going to be extremely, extremely close at first. Riley Leonard is a great quarterback from Duke. I do think Duke not being ranked in the top 25 is a little disrespectful after the way they finished last season. So I do think the Dukies are going to be looking for revenge. But I do think Clemson is going to win this game by 14 to 17 points. So that is your week 1 slate. On Sunday we're gonna talk about Saturday's games. No, I'm sorry. On Monday we're gonna be talking about what happened on Saturday and Sunday games. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one.